Laetitia Mukungu, a student at the African Leadership Academy. Welcome to the JSO interview.
Thank you.
Where is the African Leadership Academy for our viewers?
African Leadership Academy is a Pan-African institution in Johannesburg, South Africa that admits students from all the 54 countries in Africa and around the world. And the mission of the school is to transform Africa into a peaceful and prosperous continent by supporting and developing its future leaders. And that's what sets the school different from other schools in Africa. It's not just a high school. It does not take students to give them education so that they can go to college and then get a career. African Leadership Academy aims to develop the sense of leadership into the student so that after the graduation they are able to create jobs for themselves. They don't have to go around seeking jobs.
Okay, so here it is, it's in South Africa. You
Yes.
come from Kenya.
Yes.
Whereabouts in Kenya do you come from?
I come from Butere
Right,
in Kakamega County.
right.
But I grew partly in Butere and currently I live in Nairobi.
Okay, so where did you go to school before you ended up at the African Leadership Academy?
I've been to many schools. I was first at Lugulu Primary School. From Lugulu I moved to the Nairobi Primary. Then after my KCP I got admitted to Precious Blood Girls School Riruta. I was at Precious Blood when I was admitted to African Leadership Academy.
So you were at what stage at Precious Blood?
When I was in Form 4 and I was 16.
Right, okay, so what did you do? So you've just finished Form 4. What did you do, the process that led you to being admitted?
At the Precious Blood Riruta, I was part of the Akili Dada. Akili Dada is an organization in Kenya that sponsors young girls in high school who are not able to pay their school fees. So I'm an Akili Dada alumni, and during a conference at Precious Blood, one of the representatives of the African Leadership Academy in East Africa, Miss Ivy Mwai, came to the conference and she talked about the African Leadership Academy and encouraged us, especially girls, to apply because it's such a marvelous institution that develops leadership into us. So when I heard about the school, I was really impressed and I applied, and luckily I got in. So the application of the school, they mainly focus on 5 main things that get you into the school. That is your academic achievement, your passion for Africa, your leadership potential, your entrepreneurial spirit, and your dedication to public service. So when I applied, I got in.
How does one display one's passion for Africa?
Why
is your passion more than mine, for example, if you're going to display it?
I love Africa, and being an African, I believe I have a role to play in Africa. If I was born in Africa...
You just stood up and said, I believe in Africa, and that was a display of your passion for Africa. What did you have to do to display it?
I started a project in my community in Butere.
Right, so, oh gosh, so you'd done something before.
Yeah, before joining the African Leadership Academy.
Long before you heard the speech from the representative, this is something that you had done.
Before, yeah.
Okay, so I'm imagining that you go home for the holidays, or
Yes.
you went home.
Yeah.
And on your own, you decided to set up a project.
I was motivated and inspired by my own personal life story. Because when I finished the primary back at home, I had problems with school fees because my mom had just lost her job. So at that time I was staying in the village, and I decided to volunteer as a teacher at a local primary school called Bukura Educational Complex. So it was during that tuition that I came to discover the different problems these students were going through. Some didn't have decent school uniform, school fees, and even some usually came to school very late. So I put my own problems aside, and so these kids actually have even bigger problems than I do. And from what I found out, it was because of poverty levels at their homes. And most of them actually come from single families. Most of the men actually in my community are drunkards, and so they don't take full responsibility of education for their kids. So when I saw that situation they were in, I decided to come up with an income generating project that could help their parents support these kids in the school.
Right, so on your own, and so what did you come up with?
So most people in my community do chicken, cow farming, but I wanted something unique, something different, something that people had not seen before. So I decided to start rabbit farming. From what I found out, rabbit meat has high demand in Kenya, but actually most people don't keep rabbits, so there was a gap in the market. So I decided to start rabbit farming in my community. And I chose rabbits because, like I said, they produce very fast because their gestation period is only 30 days. And in a year, one female rabbit can give birth to 42 young ones. And they feed on grass, water, which is readily available in the village. They don't require much labor. They don't need professional skills for you to take care of them. So they are easy for the women who are uneducated.
But there's a question here.
Yes.
Is that how did you manage to convince people that were doing something that they weren't used to doing to suddenly start keeping rabbits? It's a bit like telling me, gosh, you know, go and look for lizard farming, but it's never been part of my culture. Wasn't there kind of people responding negatively to this brand new idea?
Yeah, and at that time, being 16, it's hard to convince a grown-up man, let's keep rabbits for your kid to go to school.
Right.
Yeah,
so what did you do?
I chose women.
Right.
To start with women, because in my community, women are more supportive and more understanding.
Right.
So I went to them.
So this is basically bad publicity for the male of the
No.
The male of the species are now drunk and they're not very interested in progress.
I didn't go to the men because I think they won't cooperate. I decided to start from a different angle.
Right. So you made a decision.
Yeah.
You made a decision, go for the women.
To go for the
women.
women.
They're likely to be more amenable to this idea.
Yeah, and they're the ones who struggle more in my community to educate their kids.
Okay, fine.
Yes.
So there you are. You've set up this rabbit farm.
Yes.
And how long does it take people to see the gains
like I
of
said,
your project? So that they say there's money coming in, I can pay my fees, that my life is going to change. How long did that take?
Like 6 months.
6 months,
yes,
because you said the gestation period is
yeah,
almost
they grow
instant.
very fast and the market is there.
Right, so in terms of your planning, you had to define a market. Where did the rabbits go? Did they end up in Nyeri? Did they end up in Mombasa? Where did they go?
So I talked to the school head teacher because this project at first was located in a school at Bukure Educational Complex. So I talked to the head teacher. Can I set the project in your school because I don't have land? Because the money from this project is going to support underprivileged kids in your school. And he said yes. So we set up the project in the school, and he connected me to other people in the community who do rabbit farming. There are actually people in Bukure and Butere who do rabbit farming. So we sell our rabbits to other suppliers who then export to the international market.
To the international market?
Yeah, they export rabbit meat and rabbit fur.
Okay, so the question for me to ask is, now that you're at school at the African Leadership Academy, has this project died a death, or is it no longer operative?
No, because before I left, I laid a solid foundation. It's an organization of 15 women at the moment, and it's called Africa Rabbit Center. So Africa Rabbit Center, an organization of 15 women that specialize in rabbit farming and selling to earn income, to educate their kids, to ensure food security, and to be stable at home. And we have the chairman, we have a chair lady, we have a secretary, we have leadership.
Right, so there's a structure.
Yeah, structure. And I put my mom to be in charge because my mom can travel from Nairobi to Butere to check on the project, and because I trust her more.
Right. The question of trust intrigues me because, again, have you as a young person dealt with this whole issue of corruption? So, I mean, are there people, iko kitu for some, you're running this rabbit center and some people are getting rich in the villages. How do you manage that? People abusing the system that you've set in place?
So far, no one has yet abused this system because of its benefits. Actually, the women are very supportive and they are very happy for what it's doing for their kids. So they're very hardworking at the moment, and no one has corrupted or even left the organization yet. Actually, more people want to come in.
Good to hear.
Yes.
I'm interested now because you're now going to do a course, a high school sort of advanced level course in South Africa at the African Leadership Academy.
Yes.
It's in Johannesburg.
Yes.
I'm interested in a typical day in the life that you're experiencing there over this 2-year period. What's different in that school?
So Africa Leadership Academy to me is very unique compared to other schools I've been to. And I think what sets the school apart is that you never graduate from the school. As literally you walk outside the gate, but you remain a member of the African Leadership Network for a lifetime. Because the goal of the school is to groom the next generation of African leaders. And we do the Cambridge International System. We do A-levels at African Leadership Academy. Normal maths, English, we do the sciences. But the school has its own curriculum of African studies and entrepreneurship and leadership.
Right, so the African studies, I mean, one of the problems that we have here, yes. Do you study, quote unquote, African history? Do you know more about the history of the continent than the average high school student in Kenya?
So African studies, it's a curriculum of the ALA. And in African study, we go into deep study of the different countries in Africa, the problems they are facing like poverty, hunger, and poor leadership. And as a class, we come up with solutions that we think can solve these problems in Africa. And in African studies, we begin with simple things, just like knowing the different countries on the map. To be an African, you have to know this is Nigeria, and that's Chad.
And that Africa is a continent, not a country.
Yeah.
Great leap forward, yes, okay.
And we also have African history. They are different. In African history, we study the history of Africa, how we had the traditional leaders, where different communities, what did they do? But now in African studies is more of the current problems in Africa and how we as the next generation of African leaders, we can deal with those problems.